Welcome to the Devil's Advocates, where we usually make it our mission to disagree with Rotten Tomatoes.
This time, now that 2016 has come to an end, we're going to present to you something a little bit different. The worst of the year.
These are the genuine lists for Evan and I, respectively. It's our true opinions, no concept bullshit here, just the truth.
We'd love to hear what you guys think, so comment below your worst of, and stay tuned for our best of coming out soon after.
Year over. What did we actually think of the worst movies of the year, Evan?
All right, a couple honorable mentions to get out the way. One of them is Collateral Beauty that came out recently. It's some failed Oscar bait if I've ever seen it. We also have The Do-Over, a Netflix comedy with Adam Sandler and David Spade, and it's even worse than that sounds like that could be. And finally, sadly, we have Ratchet and Clank. I know a lot of people like that video game, but boy, did that movie just fail to make anything happen.
Movies that didn't make my list either, but were also pretty bad. Shockingly not God's Not Dead 2. That was kind of tolerable. Yeah. We have Norm of the North, just awful animation, and Rob Snyder making a fool of himself again. We got Mother's Day, Gary Marshall, may he rest in peace, a last cinematic venture. Awful film. And Hardcore Henry, it was just motion sickness and bad jokes the whole time for me. Number 11, you'll see why later, worst movie of the year for me was The Accountant. Ben Affleck is a complete miss here with an all-star cast. We got Anna Kendrick, we got J.K. Simmons, we got offensive plot lines that is exploitative with regards to mental health illnesses, and an awful, awful twist.
All right, number 10 worst movie of the year for me is The Witch. A lot of people really like this movie because of its creepy atmosphere, but the problem is the movie's ruined 10 minutes in where you find out the answer to the question, is there or isn't there a witch? Really wasn't digging this movie. I thought the ending also ruined a lot of what could have been good. Not having it.
Number 10 worst movie of the year for me was The Girl on the Train with Emily Blunt. It felt like one of those blockbuster Redbox ripoff movies where it's like, you thought you were renting Gone Girl, but it was actually one of those low-rent straight-to-DVD ones. But this one somehow hit theaters, so sucks.
At number 9, I have The Darkness as one of the worst movies of the year. Kevin Bacon is a solid actor, so is Radha Mitchell, and Blumhouse normally puts out watchable content, but this movie was just boring. Like, it is the definition of forgettable. If I hadn't looked at my list, I wouldn't have realized it, but I had to include it to remind myself just how much of a waste of time it was.
Number 9 for me was The Witch. Pretty much everything Evan just said with a really pretentious script.
Number 8 worst movie of the year? Alice Through the Looking Glass. It's true there was one joke in this that made me laugh a lot, but the rest of it just made me angry when I realized that $200 million was spent on a movie that no one wants to see. It's just a waste of so much creative talent and good, set design for an incomprehensible plot and a really scary Johnny Depp performance.
Number 8 for me was London Has Fallen, in this awful, overloud, overlong sequel with Gerard Butler and the very talented Aaron Eckhart returning. We get xenophobia galore.
Number 7 for me is Don't Breathe. I know a lot of people think that Fede Alvarez's Thriller is a real tense time with the movies, but the twist is actually very offensive, and I thought the characters were all idiots and hard to care about.
Number 7 worst movie of the year for me was 50 Shades of Black. It's a parody movie. Do I need to say more?
Number 6, I have Shut In. Naomi Watts cannot save this from a really boring first half and a really sad second half. It wants to be sort of ludicrous, fun, high-concept horror, like a Brian De Palma thing or something, and it's just bad.
Number 6 for me was Collateral Beauty. I agree with most of what Evan said earlier, but I'll say that it's even worse because of the talent involved.
Number 5 for me was Boo, a Madea Halloween. This was probably the worst form of filmmaking I have seen on screen ever. The terrible lighting, camera angles, sound editing, sound design, performances, it was just amateur.
Number 5 worst movie of the year for me was Don't Breathe, Fede Alvarez's follow-up to the Evil Dead remake that he did a couple years ago. That was pretty decent, is extremely offensive with its treatment of women and its motivations for characters. Also, the script just f***ing sucks.
Number 4 worst movie of the year, Now You See Me Too. Somehow this sequel requires the viewer to have an intimate knowledge of Now You See Me to even understand what's happening at all. And yet, does anyone actually care or want to see the movie? It makes me very mad in the sequel-driven culture that we live in that a movie like Now You See Me 2 gets made and not something else original.
Number 4 for me was Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk. I was so excited for this film. Ang Lee is one of the greatest directors in the game right now, and it was shot in 120 frames per second, 3D 4K, and yeah, the effect has some really cool moments, but there is nothing more flat than this script.
Number 3 worst movie of the year, X-Men Apocalypse. There are moments in this film where they simply replay moments from previous films. That's how lazy they were trying to write this one.
Number 3 movie of the year was Zoolander 2 because I forgot it existed. That's why I have a top 11 here. Moving on.
Number 2 worst movie of the year goes to Zoolander number 2. I love the first movie, And this movie is an insult to that. If you like the first movie, forget this one exists.
Number 2 movie of the year for me was Shut In with Naomi Watts. This is a extremely boring thriller. No thrills. None at all.
And finally, the number 1 worst movie of the year for both of us,
Suicide Squad.
Fuck you. This movie made me lose hope.
Yeah, it's awful. It couldn't have gotten worse. It couldn't be worse. I can't believe it. See our original review if you want to hear what we thought more in depth. Quick side note, for Evan and I both would like to award a special award this year for most racist movie of the year. That one goes to Natural Born Pranksters. YouTube stars gone, movie stars not really.
Most of the jokes in this movie are based off of sizing up people according to the most base stereotypes. The less said about it, the better.
Oh, Chinese people eat dogs. Isn't that funny, Evan?
No.
All right, those were the movies that made Evan and I want to pull our hair out this year doing this shit for you guys. And we had to disagree with Rotten Tomatoes for almost all of them. So that was fun. If you want to hear more in-depth our thoughts about each individual film, we'll have the links in the description below for our original reviews. Stay tuned for our best of the year coming up next.